Hey, this is Ben.
This is John.
And we're Cinema Gulp, and we're taking a trip through the shimmer in our Gulp review
of Annihilation.
Okay, everybody. Well, my most anticipated movie of the year is already in theaters, and I have to say, since it was my most anticipated movie of the year, I went into it excited, but a little nervous, because you never know. There are movies that stick in your head a little bit after you see them, and then there's movies like Annihilation that started entering my dreams the last couple nights. This movie is sort of thematically life-changing, in my opinion, because I love this movie. Go, John.
There you go. All right. Well,
I love this movie.
I really enjoyed it too. I'm often all about the viewing experience, and I think this was an amazing viewing experience. I even mentioned to you, I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. I did not touch my bucket of popcorn once. I looked down.
And that's not common.
There was still a napkin laying over the popcorn I hadn't even removed. And yeah, it was just such a great visceral experience, but also a thought-provoking experience. Which you don't always get that. You get one or the other sometimes. I really enjoyed this movie as well.
I will be on this day of bold statements and say that it's a masterpiece. You say these things after one viewing, and that's your initial reaction to it. If it changes later and people give me shit for it, fine. But I think that it's already the front runner for Best Picture, and we're in February. And I'm like you, I think it's already kind of way up there with the top tier films from the last couple of years that ended up being in our top 5, and it's already there in February. I'm so happy that I could not wait to see this film. I saw very little on the awful ad campaign they gave it. Fuck you, Paramount, you bunch of pussies, for getting rid of this movie and not having any faith in it and only opening it up in China and America and giving it to a streaming service. How dare you? Shame on you.
Shame on you.
This movie needs to be seen in the theater. It's beautiful. The sound design is so layered. Like, I can't even imagine someone watching this on their iPhone. Cursed.
Yeah, the cinematography is amazing. It's something very original that you have to see on the big screen, I think. There's a lot of reasons to see this on the big screen, so definitely check it out. Yeah, I agree with you. You call it a masterpiece. I call it a mini masterpiece. There's things about it that I was just in awe while watching this movie the whole time. It was amazing to watch. But there are also things that kind of left me unsatisfied. But there are so many aspects of this film that... that blew me away. Like, honestly, I think that was what I said to you. The first comment I said was, I'm kind of floored and blown away right now.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen often in a movie.
No, you and I don't turn to each other as soon as the credits roll and both immediately have something to, like, I turned to you and I said, oh my God. And then what came, because I had no idea what you were thinking about this film. Yeah. I was just like pissing my pants. I was so excited while watching it. Yeah, what a smart, terrifying, unsettling. There are scenes in this movie that are just unsettling where you don't even know what the hell you're looking at, but there's something just so creepy about it. I would say this has one of the scariest scenes, one of the creepiest scenes, and most unsettling scenes in a film in some time.
But what's amazing is how unsettling it is and beautiful at the same time.
Exactly.
That's kind of the thing about this movie that makes it stand out for me. It's just there's things that the director did to put you off kilter while watching this movie, to make you feel disoriented while watching this movie, to make it unsettling. And it's all on purpose. And it all makes sense by the time that the film's done. I mean, there are aspects of the end. I think this film is a very divisive film to some people, and there's a third act that I don't know if I fully understood, but I was amazed by it. So amazing work of visual storytelling, and they give you just enough for you to work with this mystery and figure out the clues yourself. Is that one of our friends being eaten by a bear?
By a man-bear pig?
Man-bear pig is in there, and we have to kill him!
Masterpiece can mean a lot of different things. It's not absolute perfection, because those are fucking 11s. Those are difficult to achieve. But I think Alex Garland, the director, I think this in Ex Machina, he's making sci-fi seem easy to do right now. He's not like tier Villeneuve yet, but I think him and Villeneuve, when it comes to this kind of material, are probably the best there are. I'm sure they'll go after him for Star Wars Episode 15 at this point. Sound design in this movie. I wrote down some things about it because I'm pretty sure you noticed this too while watching it. It's one of those sound designs that's married to the score. Not in the sense that the score is just sound effects, but I compare it to very different in style and tone, but I compare it to like how Dunkirk, it ratcheted up the tension with beats that you knew was score, but you could almost swear it was just part of the sound design.
Yeah.
This movie does it in a very different way because, you know, you're dealing with beans and like different types of environments and creepiness, but it really does a good job. It's layered, and the sounds are often like walls of synth, and then they morph quickly.
Yeah, I love the score as well. I found it to be, as you brought up, Dunkirk, or even another film with the same composer, Hans Zimmer. There were times where you weren't sure if you were hearing sound design or score.
Yeah. Blade Runner 2049 was actually maybe even closer.
Yeah, and but I think both of those also have a very ambient kind of sound. The way that the quality of the score, it's not tap your toe to it. It's just this wall of sound sometimes. And then they also mixed it with like some folksy guitar at times. There was an element of the score that was like
I liked that.
Guitar work.
Yeah.
And so it had this mix of classic and modern, or kind of old school and modern. And
that's a sign that it's not a big studio movie, because the director made his own choices and was like, hey, let's start this crazy science fiction thriller off with just some guitar that's like folk music. Yeah, I agree with you. I was like, I like this decision when you first see it.
Well, and I kind of saw that as playing into some of the themes. The movie deals with gene splicing at times, and that's almost like mixing two things together, but making them work and making them something new and original. And that's exactly what this movie is doing. It's constantly taking familiar things that we know. Even the plot itself and kind of the setup of this movie is somewhat familiar. We've seen it before, but this is unlike any movie you've ever seen before. They find ways to make it completely original. And production design was another thing where once you get inside the shimmer and you see it's just a swamp, I believe in Florida, so it's something that should be familiar to all of us.
Yeah, it's just like a state park.
But it never is. Every image, you're like, there's something about it that has you unsettled, uneasy, in awe of the beauty, and staring at something. I have to mention Geiger, because it's like this beautiful, disgusting thing at the same time. And
especially
and it
towards
me
the end. We won't give anything away, but there's a room that has a lot of sort of that xenomorph environment they create. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was very specifically harkens back to Alien in that scene.
We're just going to spoil everything. It's actually a xenomorph that take over the world.
I really was on the edge of my seat the whole movie.
Oh, there's scenes in this movie that make you want to rip the arms off your theater seat.
Yeah.
They're so tense-filled.
Yeah.
I was thinking The Thing a lot while watching this movie.
It has elements of all that.
Well, because especially some imagery, and we won't give it away, but there's
a lot of body horror.
There's a lot of really interesting body horror, and there's a lot of paranoia and people sort of losing their shit.
Yes.
And that stuff. And it fits so good because this movie could have devolved. This movie literally, one of the things that was making me so anxious about it was, is it going to fuck itself up at some point?
Yeah.
Is it going to go off the rails and lose me? And to me, it never did, not even close.
I mean, it did a little bit for me at the end, but not really. I was still like completely engaged.
Yeah, you can't not look at that end and be like, wow.
It's more about...
That's going to change people's perspectives on the film.
It's more about how it left me after the film ended. Not while watching that third act, but thinking about the third act, where I couldn't really make heads or tails of exactly what it all meant to what I had maybe seen before. But... the thing I think I love the most about this is the way it does play with some of the themes of like self-destruction. Like everybody's character motivation deals with some form of self-destruction to kind of create something new.
Well, and that's smart because it tells you the stuff like. It doesn't beat you over the head with that stuff. It's like, hey, all 5 people have motivations and we know what they are.
But you don't know till a little bit later in the film. And that was actually one thing where I kind of questioned certain people's motivations earlier in the film. But as a good film viewer, you have to let the film give you the information when it wants to.
Yes,
eventually, you learn everyone's motivation, and it's very clear why everyone has made the decisions they're making in this film. And I thought the way the information comes at you was very smart. They allow the viewer to do some thinking, to piece together the clues.
Yeah.
They don't spoon feed anything to you. They don't have the the explicit shot of a close up of something to make sure you've.
But it also, you don't really feel lost either though, because you're like,
no.
It's such an enjoyable, crazy, fucked up ride that you're like, of course I'm just gonna let it play out, and you don't really have time to breathe. Like that's why, like when this movie ends, you got to process this movie.
Yes.
I want to throw something out there because, we're talking about performances, and I love Natalie Portman. I think, unfortunately, the only film you and I have reviewed other than this one that Natalie Portman was in was one of our biggest bashes ever, which was like
she was
Jackie.
Terrible in that.
Yeah, she was just a caricature, but
all the kids looking up to me can suck my dick. It's Portman, motherfucker. Drink till I'm sick.
But I think she's quite good in this. This is a good type of role for her to have. Like, she could have just played the straight, normal type of person, but that, again, like, all these characters, they're very curious and they're very smart. And I want to say something about this being the year of the woman, right? So here you have Annihilation, which is... It's fascinating to me how these Hollywood politics work, because you have a movie called Annihilation that has these, like, fleshed out, smart, strong, brave, really well thought out female characters in mostly a female-driven film, and no one's talking about it or going to see it. And I'm fine with that because I think films should be films.
Exactly.
And that's what I like about this. Is no one in this film, no one in this cast, including Natalie Portman, who, is a big loudmouth at the Golden Globe Awards.
And here are the all-male nominees.
How many female directors have you worked with, Natalie Portman? Only yourself.
Yeah.
You have only been in a film that you directed. You own your own production company. How about you start hiring some female directors for your production company?
And we're on her side because this movie is fantastic, and it's not sitting there telling you to go see it because it's got strong female leads. It just does.
Yeah.
And what's blowing me away is that this year of the woman, where you have a film like this with 5 strong, smart women, a movie about a mythological princess in a fairy tale land wearing a miniskirt this big, weighs about 92 pounds, is somehow the woman that's going to empower all the other women in the world. Why is that the important one? This is intelligent people making decent choices and sticking up for themselves and getting into harsh, crazy situations and they don't have superpowers.
There's an element in this film, a theme in this film about refraction. You see it come up very early in the film, even before you're in the shimmer. But once you're in the shimmer, everything is shot through a different prism. The way that you see this movie, the way that light is played with in this movie, it is strange to you. It's not, it's familiar but otherworldly at the same time.
Yeah.
And so you're used to it, but you're not used to it. And that's just that unsettling feeling that this movie creates for its entire running time. And it was really beautiful to look at. There were a couple times where it was almost hard to look at because for me it seemed like things were kind of going out of focus. But I think there was a purpose for that.
Yeah, the movie was making you disoriented.
Yeah, it was part of that disorientation and it messes with time in the movie as well, where you as the viewer aren't necessarily as disoriented as the character because of the play with time, but
I love the play with time.
You do have a similar experience to these people in the shimmer, which is amazing when a film can do that, can give you the experience of the character, and I love that.
It's cool because you basically, like, what is the shimmer without giving anything away in the movie? It's just this giant bubble.
Soap bubble.
It's like a soap bubble that's creating environment based on something else that we won't tell you about. Mixing DNA and mixing matter and environments. And so who's to say that, like, time would ever be the same as it is here, even though it's technically still on Earth. But I love lines that people say in this movie that they're just like, that tell you, okay, these people aren't stupid. We won't give it away. But at one point, this woman's like, what, did you really think that was going to work? You know?
Exactly.
And that simple line right there just tells you, okay, this movie is not full of dingbats like Alien Covenant, where people just make the dumbest decisions ever.
I mean, these are scientists that actually show that they've learned the science, that they're, the biologist knows stuff.
Yeah.
I don't even know what all their fields were.
They were just all really scientists.
I think we both kind of thought one of the standouts from the group, besides Natalie Portman, who did a great job, was Gina Rodriguez.
Yeah.
She has a really great character arc in the film.
Tuva Novotny was really good, too.
Yeah, I think she was the one that I really enjoyed. I think she was actually my favorite besides Natalie Portman, but we won't give anything away what happens to these characters.
I think Jennifer Jason Leigh was really good, too.
She was maybe the weak point for me. I think Tessa Thompson had less to do than some of the others, but she's really enjoyable. I like her.
I like seeing her. I like seeing her in anything. Yeah.
Jennifer Jason Leigh kind of did what Jennifer Jason Leigh does. I think when you find out her character motivation, it makes sense why she's kind of the subdued character that she is. And then we have Oscar Isaac, who I think did a great job as well. I love
Oscar Isaac.
He's so great. Every time I see him on screen, the different characters this guy can play. He's really talented. I really enjoy him.
And Benedict Wong, the other male in the movie. The big elephant in the room in this movie, though, is how, I don't know how this was possible, but somehow Poe Dameron started banging Padme.
I did not think.
I think critically I think he's going to leave Paramount because he's like, fuck this, I can't make a movie. Like, who knows how much time he spent on this production to get it as great as it is. And I think people are going to be clamoring, fighting over him, studios, like, to make films.
Well, we should talk about the production. You were bringing up the budget, that this is a $40 million budget in this film.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive what they put on screen for $40 million.
It is.
I had a few little issues with one or two minor effects in the film, but for the most part, I was completely sold on the look of this film. The production design is amazing. The cinematography is very original. The work in the third act of this, I don't know if giving it away that there's this scene at the lighthouse, but everything that takes place on the beach and around the lighthouse and inside the lighthouse is just mesmerizing. Your brain can't even comprehend what you're seeing sometimes because a lot of it is so original to what we've seen in movies before, I think.
The colors and just the solids and it's a lot of digital work, but it's doing it that correct way. And man, I never seen anything quite. I can't give away the scene I'm talking about, but there's an end where something happens to certain trees and it's fucking amazing to look at. I'm like, wow, like that just looks so interesting, even if at that point you're like, I still don't know what just happened in this movie.
Just having this experience and let your mind figure it out afterwards. If you don't totally love the film because you don't totally understand it, like me a little bit, I think there's going to be a lot you will enjoy. If you like thought-provoking science fiction cinema, you're going to love this movie.
As it stands right now, it's not going to make its money back, and that's a shame. So we're getting to this a few days after it came out, but if you see this and you like what we say, see this movie in the theater because it's just too layered and too beautiful to watch on your frickin' phone.
Maybe it'll find some legs or some life on Netflix, but it's such a beautiful film and an amazing film to view that you should see it in the cinema.
You absolutely should. Listen to him. Like, I could not stress that enough about this movie.
My Gulp score for Annihilation is going to be 8.25. I really enjoyed this movie. I want to see it again. I think my score could go up if some of the things that I'm wrestling with right now make a little more sense on a second viewing. This blew me away, and I feel like it's as good as anything I've seen in the last few years. It's right up there with the top tier of films that have been coming out over the last 2 years. So 8.25 for me.
I don't remember or not if I've done this yet in 2 years, but I'm giving Annihilation 10 gulps.
Awesome.
I don't think I've done that.
I don't think with a new film, only some of our classics.
Yeah, only the classics.
That's awesome.
Again, these are all knee-jerk things, but to me, this is the best film. This is the best film for Ben, personally, that I've seen in the last few years. I'm thinking of my favorite films dating back to like 2014, and I can't think of anything that really made me feel the way this movie made me feel in the theater. I can't wait to see this movie again and again, and I'll be able to stream it at home pretty soon too, which is great. Alex Garland right now, man, like Radar is like in full force looking for your work, man, because you're incredible. So anyway, that was our Gulp review of Annihilation, my most anticipated and my favorite movie of the year.
So the year's over for you, huh?
It is. As always, if you like this review, click like and or subscribe. John, where can they find us?
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. This is John.
And this is Ben.
We drink your cinema.
I drink it up!